name is Newell Thompson. I'm Vice President of Content Marketing and Strategies at Time Inc. My responsibilities are to build commercial content across 4 platforms: Sports Illustrated, Fortune, Money, and Time, all their web properties, and any live conferences, etc. Some content marketing tactics that we employ as a group. We are a publishing house by nature. So we operate as a small little advertising agency and content production house inside of Time Incorporated. So that the tactics that we employ are basically our clients' tactics. So we build a well of content for either B2B or B2C marketers who are interested in talking about topics and issues within their industry. And so it becomes more of a thought leadership conversation, less about selling, less about product, and more about topics and pain points and initiatives and strategies. And the tactics that they employ are building a well of content across different content. So infographics, webinars, white papers, executive summaries, native placements, anything that is going to act as a lead generation or a communication tool to have an effective conversation at a higher level than selling product. I think that it all gets back to brand and the DNA of a brand, so that when we're building content, stories, whether it's a 400-word native post or a 30-page white paper, the content has to have a thread back to the brand DNA so that the messaging takes on the same trust and credibility of the brand. That helps guide us to creating the content. And then we have to look at who the user is. So you need to reach the people where they are. So in the business-to-business world, a lot of it's now mobile. A lot of it is kind of in transit. So creating snackable pieces of content that drive people to a larger body of work is an effective way to get executives to be drawn into a deeper conversation. We launched a product called the Fortune Knowledge Group. And so the Fortune Knowledge Group is a thought leadership brand that is built for the business-to-business world to allow people to have third-party credibility around survey and research-based content. So when we build that survey work, we'll go out, let's say, and we'll survey 500 C-title executives about security in the supply chain. Right, might be an example. We'll take that out. We'll gather all of the data, interpret it. Right, and that's the important piece, is how do you interpret the data that's coming in, whether a data visualization, whether it's a video case study, whether it's the body of work with pull quotes from verbatim quotes from executives that we've interviewed. It can come in a variety of different ways, so that, again, the medium's going to be important on what we use to create that content. It could be a company that wants video. It could be a company that just wants static white papers and lead gen pieces that are, words and images. We usually get feedback and collaborate with companies who have a certain need around the content that they want. It's traditional media strengths. So video, sight, sound, and motion, you're capturing the emotion of an executive, their passion. You can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it. With longer form journalism, you need to intellectualize the topic. So you can't do that as well with a video. You need to read and burn that into your brain so you remember kind of the core values of the proposition. And then with visualizations, it helps people interpret complex issues in a meaningful way. So simplified down into a visual helps people understand that the movement of the supply chain and security and the issues that large companies are dealing with on that basis. Because when you're talking about a B2B sale, it could be a $500 million or a $5 billion contract. Those take a very long time to nurture and then mature and develop into actual business. So it could be a year, it could be 3 years. When those contracts are coming due, you have already needed to have a ongoing conversation with that client to really convert them at the end. So it's not this kind of, we did this and got that. It's, we're having a conversation with 10,000 of our best prospects. We want to hear back from them. We want to understand what's keeping them up at night, and we want to provide them objective, trusted, credible information so that when it's time to make that decision, they naturally come to us as the expert in that particular category. We know that it's working in what we do because people come back to us. So we're in a space that is very competitive right now. We are inside of a publishing house, but there are lots of vendors who are trying to emulate and replicate the publishing model, whether it's Contently or Skyward or even NewsCred. They're all in the business of creating content through these huge aggregators, freelance aggregation networks. And so the fact that people are coming back to our brand means that as a publishing brand, we're trusted and we're credible. They know they're getting a very high level of journalism and integrity in the way we go about creating the commercial content. I would equate it no differently than having a brand campaign, honestly. I don't think Phil Knight knew what he was doing when he hired Michael Jordan to create Just Do It, right? I don't know that any real high-level brand campaign without a specific action at the end of it can be sold through to a person who doesn't believe in branding. And so content marketing is branding in a way, and it's a very high-level way of branding because you can really craft your messaging in a different way than just sight, sound, and motion. One of the big projects we have this year is to really launch into the thought leadership business. We are competing against, as the Fortune brand, we've never really built a thought leadership platform. There's the Economist Intelligence Unit, there's Forbes Insights, there's Harvard Business Review, and even some of the consultancy and research companies we would compete with in a way, Forrester, right? People like that who are putting out surveys and studies around topic. Ultimately, we can compete against those using the Fortune brand name, leveraging the equity of the Fortune franchises, the Fortune 500, the 100 best companies to work for, the most admired companies. All of that editorial work that we're doing sets a framework for conversations in that space that no one else can have. Our company specifically is grappling with how do you monetize content from a digital perspective. And I think that the key to the future is creating great content. Distribution is now everywhere. It's ubiquitous. You can build a distribution network at a very low to no cost of entry through social, through lots of different channels, and a lot of startup companies are doing that. For Time Inc., I think there are three things. Do we want to be a content company? Do we want to be a distribution company? Or do we want to be a data company? We're really all three, right? And we have the largest subscriber database, I think, in the country for any magazine publishing house. But I think the area where we really need to focus is in the content side and reimagining content in a way that's going to be, again, very consumable and reaching the consumers when they want it and how they want it. And if we begin to do that, migrating away a little bit from the printed, the ink and paper business, I call it, to a digitally centric model, I think that is the exciting time for the publishing industry. Mobile has to be incredibly effective because you're limited on space. And that's where content really becomes crucial. So when you are receiving a commercial message, it's got to be in the stream, and it's got to make sense. And it cannot be, again, forced product messaging. It's got to be thoughtful conversation. And I think mobile does a great job of boiling it down to that proposition that, the buttons and the banners just don't work. You have to have a conversation with the consumer, whether it's B2B or B2C, or it's just not going to work anymore.